around. This is a conversation on matters tax that touches on everybody. We know very well that we have different forms of taxes, and that's what we've been discussing on this particular season of Business with KCK. But today it is a tax bracket that touches on everybody. We all understand how, of course, there's been an uprise, there's been so much in terms, of course, of a raise on the taxes that has not augured well with the common mwananchi. And so it is good that we all get to understand what goes into the making or the decision of picking on these particular taxes. We'll be engaging a specialist or a commission from that is KRA, and also the individuals, that is a tax lawyer and an accountant or tax accountant on this one, all the way from, of course, KCK, as they get to tell us some of the nitty-gritty details that we probably need to understand of how fair the government can be in terms of taxation. So make sure that you are here as we look at the papers, and we also cross to those candid discussions. We hope to traverse the different parts of Mombasa town just to tell you what the mood is like mornings, whether there are people out there, trying to grab their breakfast, whether they're rushing to the office, whether, there's so much activity that is going on. And so we'll be having Mariam on ground to keep us up to speed on the same. On the papers, we have the People Daily, and the People Daily speaks of Obado's trials on Sharon or Sharon's murder, and they would say that Sharon had about 7 stab wounds before, of course, she passed on. Murder case against Migori governor, that is Okoth Obado, and 2 other, opens with a state pathologist telling court that varsity student had a unborn baby died from severe bleeding after vicious attack using sharp objects. A story captured on page 6. That is what is on the front page of the People Daily, is equally on the front page of the Standard newspaper and the Daily Nation. We have the Coast edition, and we also have the Nairobi edition, and therefore this story does not fail to find its way there. Another story that is really important, even as we continue to follow up on this trial, we have our team on ground. We have that story also compiled for you. We get details of the same as we continue. Kwame opens a new fight with members of parliament. And in a story captured on page 15 of the People Daily, the CJ has written to Parliament questioning its mandate and that of its committees to oversight the Judicial Service Commission. Is a story also that finds its way on the front page of the Daily Nation, Coast edition of course, the Daily Nation. CJ, members of parliament clash over parliament's oversight role, and the latest confrontation between the 2 arms of government comes after the CJ blocked Judiciary Chief Registrar, that is Anne Amadi, from appearing before the National Assembly's Public Accounts Committee, that is PAC, to respond to audit queries, as captured on page 7 also. And we'll be looking at details of the same, and then what this means, especially when it comes to what it is the constitutional role is for these 3 arms of government, and importantly, what the Constitution dictates as to how they should work in tandem, coming to complement each other without having to interfere with also the services or the mandate of every of them. Still on the front page of the People Daily, Uhuru Ruto to face off intense KIAMBAA poll, while President is keen to show he's in charge of the Mount Kenya region, that is his backyard. His deputy too wants to demonstrate he has support in central Kenya, and they would call it the Battle of Titans. Like I said, we'll be having Kamanya, who's one of the people who've sought to vie for that particular position, but decided to shelve his interest in favor of Kao and Jiko of UDA. A story captured on page 2 of the People Daily. Another story on the front page of the People Daily, how COVID-19 has ravaged teenagers. It is quite unfortunate. A majority of them have gotten to points where they are pregnant. And, the difficulties that come with that, we know very well that we saw them, sit for the examinations or the national examinations in large numbers. Some of them had to, get away from school. They never got back after the times of COVID-19 and the long stay at home. Now, this story is captured on page 4 and 5 of the People Daily. New report commissioned by government shows that pregnancies and violence and poor access to health services have taken a heavy toll on adolescents. Quite a sad report. So much has been happening in terms of making sure that these girls are well taken care of, but importantly, we also enlighten our girls on how best they can be able to take care of themselves to avoid such scenarios. And therefore, this report, extensively, captured, is one that would be helpful for the mothers and the society at large to make sure that our girls are well taken care of and they are enlightened on some of the key things that they need to do to make sure that they take care of themselves. About 100,000 girls married in first year of COVID-19. This is according to this particular report. It is quite a bad report, and only 1% of learners had access to matters education and actually got back to school. And briefly, on the front page of the Standard newspaper, that is Nairobi edition, or the edition that cuts across the other parts aside from the coastal edition, which I also have here. CJ Koome fires warning shots, and Chief Justice puts both houses of parliament on notice in a letter detailing multiple and overlapping summons to judicial staff that she says borders on harassment and disrespect for constitutional boundaries, halts appearance until matter is resolved. That is of Amadi. A story captured on page 8 probably is going to raise lots of controversies, but when we wait to see what will shape this conversation as we continue with the day. Sharon's painful death revealed as to the case of Obado and the hearing that of course commenced the other day, and 90-year anklets weather transitions. Those ones are in regards to just what it is that women are doing out there at the level of the counties, and especially at this point of the cold, in terms of making sure that they come up with stuff, sewing and sweaters and of course beading and all that, just to revive our cultures and also to keep themselves busy and making something. Shock findings of teen sex during COVID-19 break. That is a story captured on page 5, 6 and 7. Also resonates to one that I've captured on the front page of the People Daily. And Gideon Moi is a call to Raila on alliance, a story captured on page 4. We all know that it is an era of alliances, and very many parties are trying to align themselves, trying to flex their muscles and getting to understand who are this that they can work together to form coalitions, to form alliances that would carry them through the process of election that is come 2022. And therefore they are those ones who are dishing out their reducible minimums or irreducible minimums and their demands. And so we'll be looking at some of this as we continue with the broadcast. A new study exposes high inequality, a story captured on page 29 on matters businesses, equality on what. We'll be delving deep into that later on as we have the conversation by KCK and so much more. Euros and the best, worst and strange, a story captured on page 48 in regards to matters sports. You all know what played out the day before yesterday. Should have been, yes, Sunday night. And the game was there and the verdict was evident, and so much celebrations, and in equal measure those who lost also just feeling so much pain in regards to the same. That is the Standard newspaper, Nairobi edition, or better yet the other edition. And now we have the Coast edition that also has stories that pertain to the developments of the coastal region. Remember, we are in Pwani, and therefore it is only fair that we get to look at some of these stories. And yes, this is more or less the same as that one that we've touched on. And South Africa calls in army to quell chaos. We all have seen the chaos that have been witnessed in South Africa in the recent past, or in the current days, of course, in regards to the conversation of Zuma's trial or Zuma's arrest, and also the unrest that is hugely being witnessed down there. It is a developing story. We'll be having our team following up on the same just to keep you up to tabs. But then again, the regional bodies moving in speed, or to make sure that at least they're able to quell this animosity that is cropping up by the day. Front page in regards to matters coastal region, big dilemma facing exciting coast chiefs, and With only 13 months to the next general election, the top coast county leaders are serving their last terms are rushing against the aspect of time to complete legacy projects, and while grappling with their succession, a story captured on page 12, maybe one would assume that automatically a majority of them would wish to ascend to presidency, but then we all understand that this is a position that can only be picked by one person, and therefore they have to go down, just strategize and get to know what then would be their next political move. Joho has already declared that he would wish to sit for presidency, go for it under the ticket of ODM, but it's a matter of time, because we also know that in the event that his party leader would register his interest, then so much would happen in terms of the changes of the matrix, and whether he would be endorsed or would be supported by the other party leaders then, or the other party members, then it would be a question of wait and see. This is grassroots politics that we'll be touching on also later as we continue with the broadcast. The Daily Nation Coast Edition. Let's look at what it details. Coast land disputes refuse to go away. I have sat down with a couple of leaders that is in the coast region, and there is that acknowledgement that land is, indeed something that continues to be emotive, and the disputes are here. Mombasa has about 2,146 land cases pending in court, and the highest number in Kenya. That is quite interesting, so to speak. And with millions of citizens having to place to call home or no place to call home, land is the proverbial thorn in the flesh of successive administrations, particularly in Coast Region, where at least one case is filed at the Environment and Land Court Registry on a daily basis. And we have also seen the coastal political leaders trying to use this as their political tool to campaign. And so it's really important that we all get to see what plays out in regards to this. We'll be here to make sure that you get answers of the same. Thousands of jobs at stake. Treasury has started merging and dissolving parastatals, performing similar functions and draining public resources. A story captured on the back page of the Daily Nation, and it is quite important to notice or to see what then is likely to happen in regards to this. Reduced state-owned enterprises from about 214 to about 187. Those are the recommendations that are there, and thousands are likely to lose their jobs in this particular mergers. Treasury have started merging and dissolving parastatals, draining public resources, and we all know how this will hit down on a majority of Kenyans, especially at this point of unprecedented times of COVID-19. Many are struggling to survive, to earn a living, and so, losing your job is the last thing that you probably want. We'll be looking at that as we continue with the broadcast. Rogue officers protecting runway policemen. A story captured on page 8, extensively on page 8, but on the front page of the Daily Nation. The Nation has learned on an intricate web of rogue officers operating two syndicates in the Rift Valley, which Mrs. Kangogo was part of. A story captured on page 8. Whether they are protecting her or not is a question of wait and see. We all know that the investigative bodies have picked up on this, though it has taken longer than expected. We can only wait to see where and how it ends. And another story, justice for Sharon. We have touched on that. Painful death of Sharon and her unborn baby is one that has been touched on. That is on the prosecution process yesterday that opened the legal battle against Migori Governor Okoth Obado. And here, Conquest, we have seen what happened in the global fraternity. Billionaire Branson's historic space flight, and Richard Branson can now check astronaut off his to-do list after successfully completing his first space flight. A majority of people came out to congratulate that bold move. And when he speaks that, he remembers his childhood, where he started from, and the dreams he had, and the numerous dreams that he's been able to achieve, including this one of hitting the space flight. And therefore, he says that there are no limits to anything that you'd want to achieve in life, and so much more. There's also a concern on the numerous cases of abduction of children, and therefore we keep reminding parents or guardians to make sure that they bestow proper care on their children, because at this point the cases of kidnappings and abductions are quite on the high, and of course a majority of them also asking for ransoms of monies. So it's good to make sure that your children are well taken care of. And Now, let's look at what my team has prepared. We start off with that particular story on, yes, the Obado trial and the trial of Migori Governor Okoth Obado in the gruesome murder of slain Rongo University student, that is SHARON OTIENO, and her unborn baby, kicked off at the Milimani courts, that is Monday. Now, the prosecution has lined up 35 witnesses, with Chief Government Pathologist Johansen Oduor testifying on the matter. And as Mwangi Minor reports, Oduor revealed that SHARON died of severe bleeding, and manual strangulation.
After 3 years of waiting, the family of slain Rongo University student SHARON can breathe a sigh of relief after her murder case kicked off at the Milimani courts today. Migori Governor Okoth Obado, the prime suspect in the murder, alongside his two accomplices Michael Juma Oyamo and Caspar Obiero, appeared before Judge Cecilia Githua. Chief Government Pathologist Dr. Johansen Oduor, who was the first to testify, told the court that SHARON's body had 7 stab wounds, including 2 slash wounds under the ears and multiple others. Dr. Oduor told the court that an autopsy carried out alongside 2 other pathologists revealed that SHARON's death was caused by excessive bleeding and trauma and strangulation.
We're actually working as a team and brainstorming on the findings and coming out with a conclusion. And we concluded that whatever we signed were unanimous decision of the 3 of us.
Death was caused by severe hemorrhage due to penetrating force trauma, correct?
Yes, yes.
Out of the 7 stab wounds, you cannot precisely tell which one caused death.
No.
You cannot. Now, would you know when death occurs? Is it possible to tell?
It will be difficult.
Difficult to tell.
The pathologist also produced more than 100 graphic images that revealed the torture that SHARON went through in the hands of her killers. The pictures showed the injuries and stab wounds on SHARON's body and her male fetus, which was 28 weeks old. Oduor revealed that the fetus died of the stab wounds and that SHARON's body was pale, an indicator that she had lost excessive blood. SHARON, a second-year medical records and information student, was carrying Governor Obado's baby, and her body was discovered at Kodera Forest in Homa Bay County a day after she was reported missing in October 2018. With 35 witnesses lined up to testify against Migori Governor Okoth Obado and 2 others accused over the gruesome and horrendous murder of SHARON OTIENO in 2018, the beginning of this case signals new hope to the family of SHARON that justice will finally be served after 3 years of waiting. Mwangi Minor, TV 47 from the Milimani Law Court, Nairobi.
The search for IEBC commissioners entered the second week, with 3 candidates appearing before the 7-member selection panel. Now, the 3 took turns to defend their candidature to fill the 4 vacant commissioner position that is at the electoral body. And although a few went scratching their heads to explain their controversial past, and as Musa Salah now reports, 11 out of the 35 shortlisted candidates have so far defended their application as the interviews enter their 5th day today.
Means and ways of ensuring people register.
The search for 4 IEBC commissioners entered day 4, with 2 lawyers and a businessman appearing before the IEBC selection panel, as all the 3 took turns to woo the selection panel on why they are the best suitable candidates to fill the vacancy at the electoral body.
Many others like you see.
First to face the panel was former chairperson of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, Florence Jaoko, who told the panel that her experience at the Human Rights Commission would be a crucial addition to the struggling IEBC.
I'm fortunate that I've worked in a commission, in a Chapter 15 commission, and so it may be an easier entry into their space.
However, her mastery of the Swahili language shocked the panel, as Jaoko struggled to respond in Swahili when she was asked how she would explain her role as a commissioner to ordinary Kenyans during field visits.
Unafahamu Kiswahili?
Ninafahamu, lakini kuongea Ndio sio didi sana.
After a 30-minute break, the focus of the interview shifted to former Export Processing Zone EPZ chairman Francis Wanderi. His belief that the size of one's pocket matters in his or her election, as opposed to the ideologies, got him into trouble, with the panel asking him to explain how he plans to fight corruption in the electoral body.
You also told us that elections in Kenya is determined by the good ideas. It's not determined by the good ideas one have, but the level of finances you have. You still stick to that?
In most of the cases.
In most of the
cases.
Okay.
Yes.
If appointed as a commissioner today, how would you deal with the challenge of expectation of handouts?
One of the issues that I think is very, very important in the electoral process is to legislate some issues and make IEBC have the capacity to implement and punish.
The last applicant for the day was lawyer and former Law Society of Kenya LSK Vice President Harriet Chigai. Chigai was at pains to explain her advocate-client relationship with Musalia Mudavadi's Amani National Congress ANC. Her confusion on the hot seat, revealing her inability to speak fluent Swahili.
Kazi ambayo nafanyia chama cha ANC ni kazi ambayo kama wakili wengine na wakili ambao tunafanya kazi na wao katika chama hicho, it's purely work, ni kazi ambayo inaenda na cheti changu cha wakili. Cha muhimu zaidi katika kile kazi ambayo nafanya ni kueneza allow me to speak in English.
The recruitment of IEBC commissioners continues tomorrow when 3 more applicants will be vetted. The interviews are set to go on until the 22nd of this month, with 24 more candidates yet to face the panel. Musa Salah, TV 47.
The way you have the constitution.
Wow, interesting times, we must agree. Wanasema, it's important that sometimes you try and gauge your Swahili, just get to know whether you are okay. But away from it, University of Nairobi Students Association is against the decision of the institution's council to increase school fees. The student leaders say the increment in fees will block a majority of students from vulnerable backgrounds from accessing education at the institution. The students say they were not involved in making the decision to increase the fees.
Comrades are hungry. Yes. We are just hearing comrades dying, committing suicide on media. That is what should be addressed, not fee increment. Comrades, power! Power! Comrades,
it is a gathering of some students of the University of Nairobi who came out to express their dissatisfaction with the council's decision to increase school fees. The students say the increment of the school fees was in bad taste due to the current state of the economy.
The cost of training a doctor in the medical school, University of Nairobi, has been hiked from 400,000 all the way to close to 700,000.
The student leaders say they were not involved in the decision to increase the fees.
The Vice Chancellor and the University Council went ahead and discussed the fee increment, which has been confirmed. You can check in the university website in each and every college. Yeah. They have increased the fee by 118%. In fact, they should be reducing the fee because students are studying online, but they are going ahead to charge the healthcare facility fee in which we are not using.
Professor Kiama, you involve us in the decision making or else you will go home. We are tired of implementation without students' consultation.
The University of Nairobi Charter requires us to be consulted. That's what they say in the charter. But we've never been consulted, and it's so bad that you have to learn about these things as secondary recipients.
The students are also protesting the institution's decision to abolish 5 deputy vice chancellors' positions, leaving only 2, as well as removing 25 colleges. Faculties at the institution have been reduced from 35 to 11. But the university's council says the changes taking effect at the institution were proposed and adopted after a year-long structural audit.
We are the ones who are capable of employing and firing them. Comrades, power! Power! We will not allow those structural changes to go on. You know why? Because the service delivery will be reduced.
the DOM measures that are being now employed now, it was a change that the university will be funding, the Minister of Education will be funding universities according to the number of students they admit. The University of Nairobi admits the highest number of students first years. The University of Nairobi is said to admit almost 5,000 first years, while other universities like Moi will be admitting 3,500. So in any case, if it's the issue about the financial measures, it is actually should be to the advantage of the University of Nairobi. Yes, because the new financial measures, it is student per head. It's not like per course as it was before.
The new fees will apply to new students joining the university this month. The major school fees review comes after nearly 20 years. The students also complained of insecurity at the institution, saying some of their colleagues are missing.
They must know that we, the comrades, we have more power, more than anyone except the Holy Spirit. Comrades power.
SHARON Baranga, TV 47.
You ought to know that we only fear Ot Uji. Comrades power. Power. Comrades viva. Viva. Viva.
And now to more on comrades. Business came to a standstill in Kabarnet Town, Baringo County, after students from the Baringo Technical Institute protested over poor sanitation and lack of condoms in the institution. Maria Mochado with the details.
That was the situation in Kabarnet, Baringo County, after students from the Baringo Technical Institute took to the streets to protest over poor sanitation and lack of condoms in the institution.
Leo tunasema punda amechoka. Na punda akichoka ni mateke yanarusha. Tunasoma kwa shule yenye wanafunzi maslahi yao hayazingatiwi. Ukabila umekithiri kila mahali. Tukienda pale ofisi unapata lugha ya kitaifa pale ofisi ni Kikale. Unapata kama kitu chochote kinafanyika shule hata watu sisi kama wanafunzi. Unapata hata amema hatuna. Sasa tunasomea chini ya miti. Chakula ni mbaya, mazingira mabaya. Tunataka magoa.
The students who marched to the Baringo County government offices to seek audience with the governor said they have been forced to learn under trees in unfavorable weather condition due to lack of classes. The students are also demanding that the condom dispenser at the facility be refilled, noting that they are exposed to sexually transmitted diseases due to lack of condoms in the institution.
Right now we are studying under the trees in our studies. When the rain comes, hatuna kitu tunaweza fanya, tunasoma nje pale, mvua inatupiga. Alafu in the school, our people are being harassed.
Sasa tumekuja hapa kwa hii county, tutafute governor na Minister of Education wakuja kwa hiyo shule watusaidie kuangalia ni nini. Alafu issue nyingine ni kuhusu hiyo story na mapenzi. Wakitupata tukiwa kwa mapenzi, wanatupeleka mbele, unapata mtu anapewa X. Kama kuna mwanafunzi wetu saizi amefungwa mahali juu ya kupata na wanafunzi na tunataka arudi. So tunaita serikali ingilia hapa ndani, ikuje kwa shule ichunguze kwa sababu walimu wenyewe wanakatia wanafunzi wetu. So sisi tukatie nani?
Addressing the students, Baringo Deputy Governor Jacob Chepkwony agreed to look into their demands and address their concerns.
They are going to send officers to your institution. We are going to do a thorough check, a thorough inspection to see or to qualify your grievances. And with the director here, we have qualified officers who are going to come down. We have also our DC High. We also call another agency called ESCG. That's all. We shall send them, and also they will also check on what you are doing, what the administration is doing to qualify your grievances. And the process is going to be very thorough.
Students pointed out the poor sanitation in the institution is as a result of poor sewerage systems exposing them to diseases. Maria Mocharo, TV 47.
Deadline on their campaign trails ahead of Thursday's by-election in KIAMBAA constituency and Muguga ward in Kiambu County. Now, aspirants ward voters with the Jubilee candidate Kariri Njama pleading with the electorate to support his manifesto, support areas of the UDA of the UDA, why do I say UDA, now function urged the government not to use chiefs and local administrators to coerce and intimidate voters and allow IEBC to undertake its mandate as stipulated in the constitution. The campaigns closed ahead of the mini polls Thursday.
Waache polisi wafanye kazi yao na wasiingilie IEBC. Kawajiko!
Mimi nimekuja kuwambembeleza niwaelezea kwamba ikifika siku ya Alhamisi tukumuke Kareri.
Mukiona mimi nimetoka Western, shauri wengine wanakuja hapa na uongo.
Farmers in the Western region have been encouraged to diversify their source of livelihoods instead of relying on sugarcane cultivation, which has led to losses due to the closure of the Mumias Sugar Company. And now speaking at the official opening of a fish factory that is in Kakamega County, Devolution Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa urged locals to embrace alternative agriculture for their livelihood. Residents have been encouraged to make sure that they embrace fishing or fish farming, considering the limited space required to develop the farming. Now, the event was attended by governors from Kakamega, Kisii, Kisumu, Bungoma, Trans Nzoia counties, among other leaders.
The Dust Group Kenya Limited for investing 40 million to upgrade the facility to meet all the requirements that qualified to export fish to the much converted European Union market. This factory will address the challenges fish farmers have had in marketing their fish.
We no longer can accept to have fish that is coming from 10,000 kilometers away. You are told that we are in this region and we are taking fish from China. That is completely unacceptable.
I think it's about time we diversify our economy, the economy of this region.
This factory is up to standard for export to this enormous market. So this means that if you are successful in expanding the fish farming here and expanding and make this factory really sustain, you have a possibility to export fish instead of importing it.
Africa has deployed troops to help the country's embattled police force as unrest and violence spread after last week's jailing of Jacob Zuma, now the former president, for contempt of court. At least 6 people have been killed and hundreds arrested in recent days. This as police struggle to contain rising violence in cities including Durban and Johannesburg on Monday. After a weekend of looting and riots, protesters have blocked main roads and trucks have been banned. It is not clear how many troops will be sent to the hardest hit provinces of Gauteng, the nation's economic hub, and KwaZulu-Natal, where Zuma began his sentence on Thursday. Zuma was sentenced to 15 months in prison after defying an inquiry into corruption during his 9-year rule.
Okay, peace.
Well, those are the key stories that we have prepared for you. It is now time that we shift gears a bit and engage the guests of the morning. We have 3 of them that we're expecting to get a hold of. One is already in studio, that is Nairobi Studios. political analyst Eric Rogalo, already on standby. I always call him the early bird, and we're expecting to get a hold of Josephat Kamanya, who's equally political analyst, but to note is that he was vying for his position, or the position of KIAMBAA, that is constituency, as a member of parliament. He sought to get that position, but then he had to shelve his interest looking at the terrains on ground. And, you know, that is in favor of UDA's Kawanjiko. We do not know whether it was a sure bet or not, but according to him, there's that confidence that indeed Kawanjiko will carry the day as well. We are expecting to get a hold of a member of county assembly here in Mombasa, that is Chuda Ward, and we hope that he gets into studio any moment from now so that we can engage this gentleman on the conversation of the day in regards to matters of politics, and importantly the politics of the grassroots. And therefore, I don't know whether Regalo will be able to hear me. Good morning, Regalo.
Morning, how are you?
It's good. How are you?
Good. It's good to hear your voice today. I can't see you face to face. Otherwise, I'm happy for you wherever you guys are. And how is Mombasa? Is it good?
Mombasa is beautiful. Interestingly, for the very first time in life, I get to Mombasa, and it is not hot. I guess July is a serious day.
The temperatures are good for you. It's usually very hot around December. You should go there around December. It's really, really hot. But enjoy. Have you done some pueza? Or pueza is for
I
men?
did. I mean, it has treated us so good. And we are grateful about that. And there's so much that is happening down here, by the way.
Okay. I'm happy. Let's do this. And good morning, Kenya. I'm happy to engage you in politics, in national development, economic and social development engagement. This is our country. We always have to engage each other about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And on that note, we welcome you, the viewer, to be part and parcel of the conversation as we get into this. Hashtag Morning Cafe at Linda_Lela TV47KE. I sample some of your comments as I continue with the broadcast. And the SMS short code is 22047. We'd definitely love to hear from you. You can as well call us live, and we get to hear what it is that your view would be then in regards to these key stories that we have today. And also, generally, we just look at the aspect of devolution. We always say the beauty of having different counties is the fact that, you know, they can always get service, or they are able to enjoy the services that they would have, you know, not easily engaged or maybe enjoyed in the event that devolution was not here. The fact that you can get your huduma number, whatever it is that you are, the fact that you can actually get some of these key services, government services, without having to travel all the way to Nairobi is something that is commendable, is something that many say that, you know, is a big reason why devolution should be lauded. And therefore, as we get to this conversation this morning, we look at the political terrains and how the situation is like in a majority of different places. We have always said that when violence crops up, in most cases, while many would say it is instigated by the politician, you realize that it starts from the level of the grassroots, from the people or down to the people. So it's good that when you are trying to quell this animosity, you try from, starting from the grassroots. And so we'll be discussing the KIAMBAA election, what is expected. We all know that they have closed down the campaign processes, and we also do not forget to discuss the politics of the coastal region. So Ragalum, with me, I have the hard copies of the Daily Nation and the Standard newspaper Coast edition. I don't know whether you've been lucky enough to get a copy or two down there in Nairobi, so you can also help us go through what it is that the papers detail. If you don't have the copies, the hard copies, you worry not, because I'm sure it's going to be projected on screen, and we'll be looking at some of these stories. Before we even go to what has been captured on matters coastal region, the CJ, it appears like many would want to look at her step, or a recent step, as Cold War, and the CJ has clashed with members of parliament over the aspect oversight role. Now, the latest confrontation between the two arms of government comes after the Chief Justice, that is Koome, blocked Judiciary Chief Registrar, that is Anne Amadi, from appearing before the National Assembly, that is in regards to the matters oversight. And that is the National Assembly's Accounts Committee to respond to audit queries. What do you make of this? And is judiciary putting itself into a corner where it will be so hard, and maybe we'll see the other two arms of government come, guns blazing on judiciary, and just how best would it be able to, perform or execute its mandate anyway?
Thank you so much, Linda. It's quite a tough balancing here. You understand the function of Parliament is to oversight the functions of other institutions, and Parliament have a committee actually that its function is to oversight the judiciary, and the question is who oversights the Parliament? Does Parliament oversight itself? And if there are rogue people in Parliament, or Parliamentary Service Commission, or who oversights the Parliamentary Service Commission? Is it the Parliament itself? So the question I'm asking myself here is, CJ, there is matters financial misappropriation that Parliament want to understand how the functionality and the usage of the money. The CJ writes a letter that her people cannot be subjected into per se grilling. Then who is supposed to do that? And how can I myself question judiciary if at all judiciary, if questioned, is a matter of harassment? The question now lingers here. If we have financial misappropriation per se, if it is there, then how do we handle it? Can judiciary arbitrate against itself? So I want to believe, yes, there is primacy of the judiciary, but also there is the people. And this question of the people, I learned and heard it in the other day BBI proceedings. And I understand Parliament has powers because it is vested by the people. So is Parliament not doing its function for the people under Article 1? And if they cannot question judiciary, then is judiciary part of the people? Because it's only the people who cannot be questioned. And if you question the people, then you're questioning God himself. Because if the people vote a bad person, you cannot question the people because they've already voted. There's nothing that can change. But Parliament under Article 1, they are representation of the people. So I'm not a lawyer per se to understand, but I would want to know from Kome, then how do we know where the money went if the money was misappropriated? How do we know what went wrong? That is the question. However, I still feel Parliament have a mandate to question. But again, who questioned Parliament?
All right, well, this is a developing story. I'm sure there's going to be lots of, interesting reactions coming maybe from both houses. And we get to see then how these responses will be received and what then will play out, whether the request or the demand of the CJ will be met. And if it's met, then will it be having any repercussions as to the aspect of dispensation of justice? Is a story also as well captured on the front page of the Daily Nation and the Standard newspaper and the People Daily. But even to look at a different one, still on the Daily Nation, and alarm of a rise in child kidnappings. And of course, most of them will disappear without any level of traces, and that is something that has raised lots of concern. It's not even child abductions, but generally we've seen how many kidnappings are out here that also as well are involved people who are old enough, and one would just get to a point where they'd want to understand what really could be triggering the rise of these particular cases. It's a conversation that is on. And many are saying that also the unprecedented times of COVID-19 have hugely contributed to such scenarios where individuals would wish to look at this as a form of minting money from, victim families. And just to loop you in, Eric, is something that we've been talking about for the better part of this year, or so to speak, the last 1-2 months. And it appears like it's not getting any rosier.
What I want to tell our viewers is that the term slavery has never ended in this world. Of course, slave trade and slave movement was abolished, but slavery itself never ended. I want to say slavery never ended because you realize what's happening in Saudi Arabia and other Arab countries when our Kenyans, and I will not say for any other country, are on TV all the time. Our girls crying that they are being misused and they want to come back home. And some of them tell you the document they signed.
Do we still have Eric?
And what they were supposed to do is not what they are doing. So under child abduction and all this, it's part of slavery where children are taken to slavery. You remember some videos we used to see from Libya and other places, and to other overseas countries. So a kid grows under slavery. Actually, you wipe out their generation. They will never remember or they'll never know where they came from. And you take them away when they don't even know which country they are in. So by the time they are adults, wherever they are part of that country and they have lost their trace forever and ever. Secondly, it's a business for minting money. And some of these are used so badly, especially in drug trafficking, where I remember reading in newspapers where human bodies are stuffed and sold, not even sold, and push drugs as pushing body for the burial, and kumbe you're pushing drugs. So it's other very bad things that happen with the humans, and the humans to humans are our own enemies. I'd rather you take someone's cows because you want to sell it to be eaten than taking a human being and do this to humans. Humans are our own enemies, and child abduction is on the rise. I've seen videos, and there's a video I saw on Facebook where a child was crying in a matatu, and the matatu driver had to veer the vehicle to railway police station, so that this woman may be questioned, why is the child crying if it is your child, and then why can't you manage your own baby? So that's actually what I believe we should look on how to manage this. Subsequently, parents should take care of what is happening around. Let's be our own children's guards. However, children must play. And some of these people kidnap children, they just find children in a field and you pick a child and go. So basically you don't even expect that a mother just put a kid there to be taken away. No. These are things that are happening, and we have to be on the look and we have to be on the watch out.
Well put, I couldn't agree more. We hope that such cases would be put to rest. Speaking of which, reminds us of, Sharon, and the fact that we have the chilling account on her brutal murder. This as the hearing begins, and of course the likelihoods of this incriminating Okoth Obado, who's the governor of Migori County. Is there anything that we need to say about this? Revelations are coming out. Government pathologist has also, given out his report. And I guess we can only wait to see what then pans out from the level of the courts.
We can only wait to see, but the matter is in court. We can't discuss further. But the truth is, as government pathologists, they don't lie. Other stories may come in where you start fixing stories and just to make sure you're not the culprit, but government pathologists write what they see. And most of the time, pathologists don't work alone. They're usually a group, so that there will be a government one, and there will be a family one, and be the one to take care of the interests of the people. So pathologists don't only work alone. So when they are doing their autopsy and taking samples, there are so many samples they take: the saliva, urine, tears, what have you. There's so many samples, skin. So when they are doing all that, they engage to understand what was death, how was the tissue, tissues can come looking cherry red. Cherry red is actually like brick and many other things. That's carbon and water. So they look at so many things. So when the government pathologist comes and lay down their report, they are laying down the report of what they have seen. They're not telling you this person did it or this person. So what government pathologists gave yesterday, if truly that is what they did to this lady, even God himself was shocked. Trust me, you can shock God. You can really, really shock God. How do you kill and kill and kill and kill? I mean, you've already killed. You're still continuing to kill. You mutilate a body like that. That's God. God was shocked. I mean, that's not human. Those are savages.
All right, so speaking of which, we have this report on how COVID-19 has ravaged the teenagers. And this new report is quite damning. And I mean, if you look at the details of it, you are definitely worried as a parent. You're definitely worried as society. A story captured on page 4 and 5 of the People Daily. And it's also a story that finds its way on the Standard newspaper and also the Daily Nation in regards to this report. New report commissioned by government shows that pregnancies, violence and poor access to health services have taken a heavy toll on adolescents. And you know, they speak of the numerous numbers of students who actually never got back to school after, you know, the long break, you know, occasioned by COVID-19. Some of them have been married off. If we're talking about 100,000 girls, teenage girls being married off at this time and age. Eric, I'm sure it is a report that is not one to brag out, much as marriage is a beautiful thing, as many would say. And I know we already have Kamanya also on standby, and therefore if he can speak, Josephat Kamanya, who's also a political analyst, then we'd also love to hear his view on the same.
Morning, Linda. How is Pwani? And good morning, Kenya.
Hi.
Hi.
Morning, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Yeah, well, you know,
Mombasa Raha.
Yes, actually, and I want to echo sentiments of Eric, you know, on the child abduction. And it's pretty sad because if we have as much cases reported, it must be alarming because most of the cases go unreported. You know, even the cases we are seeing, the deaths from the diaspora, like the lady, you know, this is the one that has caught the attention of the media and the civil rights movement. So you wonder how many have gone unreported. It's pretty sad, and we just hope the government will help the family because a life lost cannot be recovered.
Yes.
Once kids are kidnapped, you know, the families are left to mourn endlessly. So we hope this will be resolved, and the child care and child protection agencies will move in swiftly to help and reduce these cases. Yeah, it is becoming alarming, but we are hopeful. We are hopeful that things are going to improve and we can protect the rights of the young ones.
As well put. And Eric, you'd want to say something about that?
You are talking about child abduction, or?
No, not child abduction. This case, it has been captured. If you have the Standard newspaper, you realize that there's also that story, and also in the Daily Nation that speaks of the early marriages, early pregnancies of the girl child, and how COVID-19 has taken a toll on them.
Linda, I'm a social Kenyan. And being a social Kenyan, I remember there's a time we were together on studio, and I asked you, what is the age of majority in Kenya? And suffice it to say it's 18. And I asked you, what is the age of marriage? And I'm one person who understands things differently, and I don't want to go into such a complicated discussion, but we should review the age of marriage in Kenya downward, maybe to 16, because maturity in Kenya is very early, and some country age of marriage is quite low, and those countries are well developed more than us. Some of these laws we use are laws that were put to us by the white man. But when you look at the African context of marriage, at what age were African ladies and gentlemen starting to get married? You will understand, when you go to Maasai community, marriage is as early as 13, 14. Are Maasais doing wrong under the social context? Of course they are doing wrong under the law which is guided and which was guided by Lancaster. There are some laws we've never changed. And are Pokots doing wrong? Are Marakwets doing wrong? Are not even those Luos and Luyas and many other communities, are they doing wrong? So what is the African context of marriage? And remember, Africa is different with other people. And if those other people who are well developed, their age of marriage is lower, so why do you fix people to a certain age? So that is African context. However, as it is now, it is wrong.
Brief as we close. Yeah.
As it is now, it is wrong to marry people early, I believe. But that's a discussion we should engage in. And what age should people start driving cars? If you ask that, then you can answer this.
And also, Linda,
that's true.
Appreciate the.
Okay, I think it's probably basic knowledge. Allow me to, cut you short, Kamanya, before you probably tell us that. It's only fair that we take a quick break, and then we also get to loop in Mheshimiwa from this end, so that we all together are able to, give our views on these key stories.